before you get to the
Hello, hello. Seeing who shows up this Friday afternoon. Been a while since I broadcast anything, but big thanks out there to MV who brought the Howie Shanks Bingo League to a close here within the last week. And I thought, hey, let's pick up and let's knock out the playoffs and at least get round one done, maybe two. Who knows? I mean, I don't know how long we have to drag this out. I think many of us are looking forward to uh, the next season, right? The draft, the art of the draft in this fun and unusual league that we play in, as we look at being assigned a specific year to draft the player from, but adding a new element of you get assigned a specific year and team, and then have to draft from that year and team the player for this all-time greats league. So have had a blast with this concept. Again, big thanks to Todd B, who came up with this idea, Big Clue, and everybody else, and MV and Beatles, and that added their flavor and thoughts into this and got it to where it is. So I've just spent some time now to set up the playoffs and kind of walk through how I do this with action, because there's a couple options you have. And as you can see, I could go back here to the original file, but what I've done is taken our season ending file that has the standings right here, and I've made a copy of this and just called it Shanks Bingo Playoffs. And from there, I built out onto the schedule the next games or anticipated games. Hey, Arnold, good seeing you. Bernard is here. Hey, hey. Awesome seeing Bernard streaming now. So I've got somebody else in the community that's taken on this fun hobby in a new way and doing some broadcasts and bringing their own, I guess, version and flavor to it. I like what Bernard was doing with using the narrator to do the basic play-by-play, and then he was adding in a lot of the color and extras and trivia and all that stuff. So I thought that was a cool approach. And it also makes me just wish that hopefully in the future, Microsoft will make some of the neural voices that are more natural available in their registry that the game taps into for choices. So right now we have two choices, right? And they still sound a little robotic. So I'm really hoping that in the future versions there will be options for narrators that sound even more lifelike. So here's what we're going to do. Oh, and just by the way, Arnold, hopefully you saw it. I sent Arnold, I kind of drafted him to be my beta tester. I sent you a file of some of the basketball greats I've been working on. I have 204. Well, I've got more done now, but yesterday when I sent the file to you, I had 204 on there, and also a link that I posted as well on the action forums for my photo packs, because I think I had photo packs for all of those players and then some on there. So I'm trying to build that out as I go. So let's take a look at what we've got going on here. So as we get some people coming in, what I did is we're going to set up playoffs. I luckily somehow edged out Big Clue in Jersey. So I'm putting 1 against 4. And so what I've done is I've opted not to use this option, which is where you can select a playoff game from your season ending file and go in here and seed and let this bracket do some of the work for you. I just did it myself in a different way. I mean, you could do this if you want. What I did is just made a copy for the playoffs. And now that I have that separate copy, I went into my organized schedule. Yep, I know Put Games. And you could see here that we ended on the 29th. I gave us a day off. And then on the 1st, I've gone in and manually added a up to 5 game series and played it out this way. Since 1 is ahead of 4, I've got Manchester at Detroit, the same thing, Hawaii at Jersey for 2 games in a row. Then there's a travel day, and then there's 2 games, if needed, all 2, at the other The visiting teams are now home. And then if there's a fifth deciding game, we have a day off and we travel back. Where's my, I thought I did it. 1, 2, off, 3, 4, off. Oh, on the 6th. So I'm going to change that. It's going to give it one more day and go to the 7th. And then we'll put Manchester at Detroit, 1, and Hawaii at Jersey, add that series. So now if we look at starting on the 1st, we've got 2 games at that location, travel day, 2 games at the other location, and then if we need a deciding game 5th, 2 deleted games right here, and then there'll be a travel day on the 6th. So now if I save that, it should show correctly. 2 games, day off, 2 games, day off, final game if needed. So that's how I just go and manually set it up. I haven't done a lot of playing with the playoff bracket, but you could choose to go in here at the end of the season and do your seedings and run it all from here. Perfectly comfortable to do that. So let's look at what we can do to move along here and get on to the draft. Let's see how this season ends. So what I did is I had to make 1 or 2 player adjustments for each team to make sure the rosters were at 25. So what I did is I went in and looked at replay stats for some of the teams. Like I've got somebody injured just to make sure the team was at the 25 available. Did that for Jersey as well. And what I used, I think with Jersey, I had to activate a player or inactivate, and I picked Joey Votto because he had the least at bats. And I did the same approach to get to 25 for Hawaii, who's now at 25, and Manchester, who's now at 25. So we're ready to roll. I haven't done anything. Nobody has sent any other updated, lineups or anything. So we're just going to roll. And now that we're heading into the playoffs with these dates, the game will take into account rest for whoever were the pitchers that, ended on the 29th and so on. We'll have a rest day. So I kind of trust the flow of this being a regular extension versus really experimenting with the playoff tree at the end of a season. I think the playoff tree is great if you're just setting up a tournament, but I haven't messed with it enough to know if I trust it to account for the dates and, an actual continuation of the season. I'm pretty sure it will. I've just never experimented with it, so I'm headed this way. So let's take a look here. Let's go to our first playoff game. So we can see before I start, what I'll do is so I can have playoff stats. Again, since this is a backup file that's just for the playoffs, I'll go in here first under tools. I'm not going to delete injuries, but I'm going to set the statistics to 0. And away we go. So now injuries are still there. So as you can see on my team, I don't think I'm ever going to get, Bryce Harper is pretty much out for the season. We're never going to get to now that I've zeroed out the replay stats, I can just go to the real stats here. Bryce Harper, probably won't get to him. Jersey is injury free. That's pretty good, I think. Yep, they are. Hawaii headed in injury free. And the Evil Empire from West Virginia, the Manchester team, has 2 injuries. So they've got Mike Schmidt. So it looks like if they get to the 6th and knock me out and head into the World Series, Mike Schmidt will be available for MV. So that'll be good news for him. Alex Rodriguez hurt to 11-2. We're not going to see him again for sure. So let's take a look here. And let's get one sim under our belt and take a look at how things progress. Go to schedule league game. go back here to October 1st and let's start the playoffs. So we have a Verlander against Russ Ford. Russ Ford, I think, was a big time um, ace for Big Clue. So let's auto play that and see what happens. Yes, continue out of order. And here we go. Jersey with the nail biter here takes a 1-0 lead here. Ooh, look at this. A 2-1 game. Both teams score in the ninth. Verlander pitches a great game. So does Ford, but Ford gets the win. And Jersey takes the lead at home, 1-0. Here is Zach Greinke going up against Bob Gibson. Auto play that. And another one-run game. Now let's take a look at the box. Oh, several pitchers coming in. It was a whole bullpen effort there for Manchester to stay in the game. Manchester fights back in the top of the ninth and almost ties it up again, but Bob Gibson hangs on for the win. Well, doesn't. Leaves in a tie Wagner with the win out of the bullpen. Take a look at some of the batting here. Any highlights? Fred Dunlap, I have to say, I think he won the league in batting for me. I think he's the reason I ended up in first place after the regular season. Was heck of a second baseman from, I believe, 1884. And I see MV's got Joe Morgan back in the lineup, who did a lot of playing around with this lineup to see what would work best. So let's see how it works out here in the playoffs. So let's move on to the second, Friday the 2nd, Jersey and Hawaii. You got Lefty Grove and Carl Hubble. There's a great matchup of left-handers right there. Yep, we know there's games, but we're just playing these. And what do we have here? We have, another one-run game, but Jersey just edges Hawaii out in this one. Monty Irvin knocks in 2. Oscar Charleston knocks in 2. But on the pitching side, neither Hubble or Grove get the decision, as they have to go to the bullpens again. So Jersey, with the 2-0 lead, will be getting on the planes and heading over to Hawaii for game 3, as we are doing a best of 5 in this first round. Here's Detroit and Manchester. Spud Chandler going against Mike Scott. And another one. So we've had 4 games, all one-run games, and Jersey's won 2 and Detroit's won 2. Let's take a look at the box on this one. Man, this is another tight one. Goes into extra innings. 2 runs, 1 run for each team scored in the 10th, and in the bottom of the 11th, who gets this game-winning RBI? Manny Ramirez with the game-winning RBI. So we look at the bat. There's Dunlap again, 4 for 6. And one thing I like to do with this after I've finished a season is I can make backup copies of that file and rename them for each level. So for other words, after we do the championship series here, then you could take those and create a duplicate file, zero it out, and run your World Series. And that way you'd have your regular season file with all the stats and data to search and look back on. And you'd have a champion, or we'll call it like a semifinal file if you wanted, and then a final World Series, so that you've got a file there that kind of aggregates all the data for you to be able to go back and examine. So different ways to approach it. So now we go to 3. We got no games on October 3rd here. So now we go to the 4th, and now we are at Manchester. Detroit's up 2-1. The next win for Detroit or Jersey seals it and puts them into the World Series for Howie Shanks. We got Dwight Gooden against Jacob deGrom. And let's see what happens here. And Manchester stays alive with a big win at home DeGrom with the win. First time we've had anything more than a one-run game, a one-run win. And what do we see? Dunlap is still tearing up. He's been 3 games. He's batting 647, but he needed more help here as Martin Dihigo, 3 RBIs and a home run, locks down the win for Manchester. Hiller with the save. So Manchester alive. And here is Hawaii looking to stay alive at home. Seaver against Tim Lincecum. And here we go. And Jersey lays it on Hawaii. Sweeps Hawaii, and Jersey has just locked themselves a spot into the eShanks Bingo League World Series. Jersey put on a lot of runs here. Seaver goes the distance. And Chase Utley knocked in 3. Willie Wells. We look at this. Look at Willie Wells batting 636 for this championship series. So let's see. We move on to the next game. Manchester looking to win the next one at home to stay alive. And in fact, I can amend my schedule now. And we don't need Jersey and Hawaii. We'll delete that one, and they won't need this game. So there we go. So let's play that scheduled game, move on back to October. And here we go. Manchester looking to tie things up. Saber Hagen against Guy Hecker. And Manchester ties it up. This is MV. I don't know if MV's on the broadcast, but he's going to love this. He could have felt horrible knowing him that, I'm down to Steve 2-0. But both teams winning their homestands. And now we have a 2-2 series headed back to Detroit after a day off for the final deciding game. Take a look at the box here. Dunlap cooling off, only got 1 hit. No home runs in the game, but we look on the pitching side. Saberhagen goes the distance, Hecker goes the distance, and what a lockdown performance. Only gives up 7 hits, no earned runs, only 1 run. And Hecker, this is kind of a secret weapon that MV had to use sparingly because he didn't have like a full season's worth of innings pitched, and Manchester's used him wisely. So here we go. Off day, and now here we are at the deciding game. And it's Greinke back on the mound against Bob Gibson. I think Gibson got him the last time. Let's see how things go at home. Right now, everybody in this series has won their 2 home games. So let's autoplay it. Who's going to the World Series? And it looks like Detroit. Looks like I got by Manchester with a 9-4 win. It looks like Detroit and Jersey, who are the number 1 and 2 teams in the league, are now headed to the World Series. So what unfolded here? Look at Detroit started off in the first inning. After 2, I was out to a 5-1 lead. So Gibson, giving him that kind of run support is usually pretty good. Batting, you can see Dunlop knocking in a couple runs. So overall team effort here. So some of the highlights. And let's take and do this now. Again, I'll take this file. back it up, and I'm going to call it Shanks Bingo World Series. Copy it. And now that we're in the World Series, let's take a look at what's scheduled. And let's see where we finished off. No game scheduled on the 6th. We can delete that one because, no, that one was done. The deciding game. 8th will be an off day, so we will start on the 9th. Let's go to organize schedule. Yep. And we can go October 9th. And we're going to go Jersey at Detroit. We're going to go 2. There's 1, 2. And we'll go day off. And then starting on the 12th, we're going to go 2 more, this time Detroit at Jersey. Day off. And then we're going to do 1, Detroit at Jersey, add series. Another day off, and then we're going to go 2, Jersey at Detroit, add series. So there's our 7-game setup. Let's see what happens as we go into the World Series. I also noticed I didn't pull pictures over, but since I'm not doing a live full game, I don't think that matters too much. Let's go to October. What do we have at the 7th? That was that. And here we go. Game 1, Ford, who's been the ace for Jersey, going against Mike Scott. And it's at Detroit, so let's autoplay this. And Detroit pulls out a 3-run win. Let's take a look at the box. Highlights, Norm Cash with 2 doubles. 4 RBIs from Hank Aaron. And Scott gets the win, outduels Ford. So Detroit with the 1-0 lead. Let's go for World Series Game 2 in Detroit. Hubble against Gooden. And a 10-inning shutout. Jersey evens things back up. We have Hubble with a superb win, a shutout, which is really tough. He had plus stuff, though, in this league. Both pitchers go the distance, but 2 runs in the top of the 10th inning pull out the win for the Blue Crabs, or Blue Claws. What do we got here? 3 for 5 for Utley. So we got a 1-1 series. Now we've got an off day on the 11th, and now we're headed to Jersey. Here's Jersey. Gibson and Seaver. Great matchup. And Detroit, with a 3-2 win, takes a 2-1 series lead. As see any hits stand out. 2 for 4 Dunlop. I didn't reset after the championship series, so these are aggregate for the whole postseason, the stats. But Dunlap batting 500 in the postseason here, been really good. MV. You will have to go back and watch this, buddy. But I'm simming, and I'm in the World Series now. You and I was ahead 2-0. Then we went to your site for 2 games. You won both, and it came down to a deciding 5. They'll almost be over. What I may do here is, Yeah, I'm just trying to get through them and see. We're in the World Series now. I beat you 3 games to 2 in round one to move on. Jersey swept Hawaii 3 games to nothing. So if you go back and watch the beginning of the broadcast, I've just been auto simming them and then looking at the box scores. You and I are now Jersey. I just went up 2 games to 1 with this 1 run win here, and we're at Jersey now. Game 4 coming up, but Gibson um, 2-0 now. So the stats you're seeing are rolled up for just the postseason because I made a copy and just reset all the stats before the postseason. So here we go, game 4. Detroit at Jersey again. We've got Saberhagen against Clayton Kershaw. And Jersey ties it up. So now this could be MV. Would you be willing, like if this comes down to a deciding 7th game, should I just stop and maybe let you broadcast it? Since I'm like an active party in the game, would it be, would it be worth a broadcast to have a final game 7? I mean, we're tied 2-2. It may be headed that way. I don't know if you'd be up for that. Carl Hubble with another win. Carl Hubble's been pitching really great for Clue. And look, Carl Hubble came in and gets the win with plus plus stuff in an emergency postseason relief role, and faces one batter and gets the win. So here we are, a 9-8 victory ties it up. McGuire with an RBI here. I'm trying to see if anything stands out. 3 homers. Bailey, Irvin at the bottom of the order for Big Clue. Seals a big win for him. So now we have a travel day. We're going back, or no, an off day, and here's game 5, still in Jersey. And we got Ford and Scott. Let's see what happens. And Jersey pulls it. So now we have Jersey ahead 3 games to 2. Could it be uh, Detroit now in the hot seat has to win the next 2? See what happened with the pitching. Ford with a great game. Don't see not much, only a 4-hitter. So if we look at pitching, there's a real pitching win here. Both pitchers go the distance. Ford outduels Mike Scott for the key win that puts Jersey up 3 games to 2. So now we have a day off Friday, and now we're back for game 6 and hopefully game 7 set to go. So here we are in game 6. Detroit in a must-win scenario with these 2 games at home. Interesting. You're saying Brett's still out. Let's see. No, I believe. Da, 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 da. Oh yeah, Brett is still. Oh, you know what? I didn't scroll up and look at it. Brett is still out to 10/18, so he won't get back. And for me, I still have Harper. He won't. There's no way. Not enough time for Harper to get back either. So here we go. Scheduled league game. Let's get back over here to October. Where are we at? 11th, 9th. Where are we? Box. Now here we go. Must win game here. Seaver against Gibson. And it's a must win. So it looks like a 3-3. This is going to go down to the 7th game of the World Series. And you know what, MV? If you give me a thumbs up, the hell with dragging this on. Let's just sim this sucker and then wrap this up in a bow, put a bow on this season. As much fun as it was, and already start thinking about what does the next season look like with our new drafting approach and pinpointing it down to team and year. So that ought to be fun. So let's take a look at this box. Some runs scored here. Pitchers go the distance, even though they give up 6 earned runs each. Batting wise, you can see these are just the postseason numbers so far. Dunlop's cooled off a little bit. He's batting over 400. Norm Cash has been a terror, but Willie Wells, Ed Bailey, and Cash have been tearing it up in the postseason for Clue. So I don't know how we hype this up anymore, but this is our inaugural. I guess the first was a test run. This is really the inaugural run of this season. It comes to a close with this game. I think I edged him by 2 games in the regular season, but it all comes down to this one game. Who's going to win the World Series? Oh, nice. Maybe zoom inning by inning. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Hubble against Gooden. This ought to be good. Let's do that. So let me pull a park image. We're going to computer, view opponent computer, Gooden. And there they are. We're going to hit OK. And play ball. And I like the idea of hitting that zoom button because we can go up here to quick and zoom end of the first inning. Let's see what we got. Maybe I have to hit a button here. There we go. Yeah, I had to have a button to start it. A 0-0 game. Jersey's now gone ahead on a run. Let's see what else we get. Zoom into third inning. 1-0 game here. And let me put my I think I had it on. I'll put this on full screen. One to nothing game. The other cool feature is being able to zoom till there's a certain, I guess, game situation. And you can see these are a different photo pack I have than what we've been using. This is in my general photo pack for when I had the one specific to my 5-year franchise teams. So, zoom into the 5th inning. Oh, Jersey takes a 2-0 lead, and it looks like Norm Cash is up. Let's get through 6 and see what's going on. Ooh, Detroit's come back with 1 run. Now, the nice thing is we can go up here and hover and see what happened. Brett hit that solo homer in the top of the 5th. That run scored with a Suzuki triple, and then a sacrifice fly by Utley got him in. And Detroit's 1 run is Barry Bonds' solo homer to pull within 1. Get through 7. Oh, Detroit, something just happened. Let's go back and look. Excuse me. Manny Ramirez with the single. Felton Snow bunted a single. Concepcion up the middle. Just a note, Concepcion, of all people, was on a 16-game hitting streak to end the season, which I thought was kind of weird. Aaron singled, scored Ramirez, and then a sac fly. So now Detroit's up 3-2. Let's zoom. End of 8th inning. And Detroit adds 1 run on here. So should we just hit computer? Do you think we should just hit like computer on this. Who knows? Let's see. We can watch how this last inning plays out. By just hitting computer, and it's down to Dale Murphy. And Murphy, this isn't over. See ya. Oh, me. Wow. And Gooden is tired, but I just don't feel comfortable going to the bench because I'm just going to keep hitting the C and let the computer do its thing because nobody else has had a chance to do any manual intervention. So it's kind of fun to watch this, but my gut would be wanting to yank him right now. But I'm just going to stick with the plan and hit the computer over here for both and see if the computer pulls him. And he didn't, but he got the strikeout. So this goes down to a game 7 and to the final at bat within 1 run. So MV, I guess we can officially say the Shanks Bingo League is officially done. And if we take a look at, let's take a look at our miscellaneous. Who's MVP? Dwight Gooden. Yeah, that was a great pitching performance. That was his first win in the postseason. Hubble had been really good. But if we take a look at the stats out here now, this is for the entire postseason. And Lajoie batting good, but look at Norm Cash and Dunlop. I think Fred Dunlop is the reason my team finished first. I'm going to go out on a limb. I had a lot of power, but I don't know if there's a better deal. This is a hint for anybody that in future drafts. Fred Dunlop is a steal in 1884. And I say that because, this league we're in, we're basing it off a player's specific season. But 1884 for him, he's a 10, which is basically a Gold Glove second baseman that bats .412. So that's tough to beat when you've got that on your team. And we can see it showing us our replay stats, which is really playoff, but he's been a big key to that. McGuire with 4 home runs in the postseason. Just so you know, in the series against UMV that went down to the 5th and final game, Josh Gibson hit 3 home runs in that series, just so you know. MV's like, nice one. It's been fun, but all good things must end. Let's tie a bow on this and say that the Shanks Bingo League is done. So, what does that mean now? It's a great question. What does that mean? Oh, now you guys are looking at got my photos up here because I've been doing some of my basketball photo stuff. So not to get sidetracked into basketball, but Arnold's been gracious enough to mess around and test some of the files that I sent him. And MV, I may be sending you, if you're into it, some basketball files as I create them. So I'll just take a little quick detour if anybody's interested in basketball and pull up some of the my greats file that I've got here. But I'm organizing by teams, but I think I'm up to, I don't think I've added any more to this. I've got the numbers crunched, but I think I'm up to, I got 204 built in the system. I have many more on my sheet that I just finished. And I was all randomly, whatever interests me, building these players. But then I started just saying, okay, I'm going to come over here and build them by this method. So I've come over here to, like, Kyle Korver's next. Why? Because I've started going down, and you'll see shaded who I've built. I'm going to go down the all-time games played and just say, hey, let me just start working my way down this. So I'm at Kyle Korver now. You can see many of these that are purple I've already built, but I said, hey, that's a way to start getting more of the prominent people that had longer careers. Let's just start on the game played. So I'll build him, Iguodala next, and then Paul Gasol, Juwan Howard, Eddie Johnson, Mutombo. I'll start working my way down this list because I've been just kind of popping all over with what came into my mind. Like, oh, let me go build some Atlanta Hawks or things like that. So I have had a blast with the basketball. And then I'll pull up, I mean, I've just had a blast with this too, my photos. I'm having a blast with MLB greats, by the way. I've been adding more and more. I did a little bit of work on that last week to my all-time greats MLB, and here's the photo packs for those. But my basketball greats, I've done many of these. Here we can start with the A's, and I got a lot of players done here. But I'm trying to get 3 to 4 to 5 different options. And if a player played for multiple teams like AC Green here, he was mostly with the Lakers, but I've got one there for the Suns. Same thing with like Adrian Dantley. I've got him here for the Jazz. How to throw a piston one in there. I haven't done that. Alex English, Iverson, Alan Level, Alonzo Mourning, right? We got him with the Heat. Then I've got an option in there with him with Charlotte. The other thing I've done is I decided to put for anybody in the Hall of Fame, which I'm realizing there's a lot of NBA players in the Hall of Fame that I think there's more than needs to be. Let me just put it that way. But I'm going back and just kind of calling that out with this baseball card style logo on there. Here's Alvin Adams for the Suns. Andre Miller, I just did him. Has a ton of games. One of my favorite players from that Sixer team, that the Celtic killer himself, Andrew Toney. There's Hardaway. So I'm having a blast. Here's Archie Clark. Played for the Bullets and the Sixers back in the day. Artis Gilmore, the biggest person I've ever seen. Hey, Big Clue. You just missed the whole World Series, Big Clue. You and I went. I won in the bottom of the ninth inning. I held on. You had a comeback in Game 7 of the World Series. So if you go back and watch this, it doesn't take too long to get through it, but it came right down to the ninth inning. Artis Gilmore, biggest person I think I've ever saw in life when I was about 14. I had got to sit on the court side underneath the basket, and I think it was 1980 when he was with the Bulls. Yeah, I've got a picture of him with San Antonio, one from the ABA. The other thing I did is I came up with an ABA logo if I'm carding them for that. So I'm just having fun. It's like a trip down memory lane, and it's um, kind of reminding me of the passion I had for card collecting back then while I'm putting these custom files together for the game, and it dresses them up. I'm enjoying the research, building them, getting them in the game, playing a little bit, but then also the card creation I find therapeutic as well. Austin Carr with the Cavaliers, Ben Wallace. So just trying to make sure I can get a few different photos. So if people download this pack, they can, pick a photo they like. I just got so tired of the generic nothing but the face shots for people. Um, Bernard King, another great player for several teams. Bill Bridges, Bill Cartwright, right? Had some years with the Knicks and then the Bulls. Lambeer with the Pistons, Bill Russell. So I'm just having a blast with all these cards, making them. And my goal is as I go through to make sure that while I'm adding players to my list and then building them in the game, that I'm doing the cards as I go. So when I'm done with the final project, I don't feel like, okay, I've built the players. Now I got to go back and do all the photos. I'm kind of doing it all simultaneously while I go along. So when this project is done, I feel like it's completely done. So then I can make it available to the community and they can play it and have the photo pack to go along with it. So that's my goal. Bob Dandridge, Bob Lanier. So there you go. I'm in the Bobs. Bob Love, McAdoo. There's Bob Pettit. Trying to find some decent old pictures for some of these older seasons are tough. And then I'm running them through some of these free online colorizers just to make them look a little bit better. Bobby Jones, Hall of Famer. There's Bingo Smith for the Cavs, Brad Doherty. So having fun with all this stuff. Let's pull back up our. You go back and watch. Yeah, thanks, Envy. Let's go back and watch. Just so you know, here's the postseason how it played out, and we go back to the schedule here. I'll show you how things played out. You swept Hawaii 3 games to get to the World Series, just so you know. And then when we started the World Series, I should go to play. Easier way to look at the box score for you. So here you go in October. Oh, here's Manchester, Detroit. I think that was the final game I won. But you fought back right here. You were down 2-0, MV, and then you came back and won 2 in a row. Then I beat you. Then on the ninth, you can see here's game one. Big clue. I went ahead 9-6. You tied it up 1-1. We had a day off. We went to Jersey. I went up 2-1. Then it was 2-2, and then we took a day off, and you went up 3 games to 2. And then I came back to Detroit, tied it with an 8-6 game, and then we came down to a final game 7. And here's the box. It finished 4-3. You had a 2-1 lead. Then I put 3 runs up, and then you scored one of the ninth. And Gooden ended up striking out the last batter to seal it, and he was in the red. And everybody was. I wanted to. This is the one that we kind of looked at, and I said, "Oh, I can't pull him now because nobody's had a chance to do it." So I just hit the computer, and yeah. Oh yeah, these were some great. Ford for you had some good stuff. So if you look at the total post game series stats, you can kind of see who stood out. Norm Cash batted 414 for you. Ed Bailey, look at that, 355. And when it came to your pitchers, look up here. Hey, you'll be glad when you were on the ropes, they brought in Guy Hecker to get a win for you, MV. That was pretty cool. Hubble really pitched great for you in the postseason, and Seaver and Ford. So you had some good pitching. In fact, your pitching was the best by far in the postseason. So fun time. So now, look at him. He's already on it, man. Yeah, well, it was a fantastic series. It was really cool. So what I can do is let me zip this. I'm going to call it, and let me just save it. Take a while to zip, I think, right? Oh, maybe not. So I'm going to post this on our site. So if anybody wants to go look at the individual games or anything, or if everybody's already moved on to the next season, right? So let me see, downloads. So I just posted that if anybody wants to download it and take a peek at it. Yeah, yeah, he can replay that postseason. He can take a look at. He can go back and see how the computer played out the games and all that. But there, it seemed like in that first round there was just a ton of one-run games. It was a lot of close games. But I think you won the first 2 games against Hawaii by 1 run. But yeah, it was a fun season for sure. So what's next? Well, I've got both Clue and MV here to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but what I think is next is taking our draft to a different level. So for those of you that maybe are new or have followed this, we've explained it a lot, but Todd B came up with that initial idea of saying, well, if we do an all-time greats baseball league, what if you were randomly assigned a year and you had to go draft a player from that specific year and use that player's card on your team? Now, once a player's taken, there can't be a doppelganger or other versions of him. And we thought that's really cool. So we did that. We did our initial kind of test season, I'll call it, and then we ran this season. Since then, there have been some great suggestions by Big Clue, MV, and I may be missing others that have contributed to, hey, what if we took it to the next level, made it more challenging? So not just being given a random year, but now you're given a year and a team. Say it's 1946, I don't know, St. Louis Browns. You have to go to that team and draft a player. And it makes it much more challenging, and it will make it so that the players are probably more widespread, and some of the years that you end up drafting a player may not be the best known or the most statistically impactful year because um, yeah, you as it gets deeper, I mean, when do you choose to pass on and hope you get a better year? Because sometimes I would find myself, remember when I was waiting for the 1913 Walter Johnson? Well, if I had to hope for 1913 and I had to hope out of the 16 teams I was going to get the Senators, that adds a whole different level of absurdity to holding out. So to me, that's what's going to be so interesting is, you know, if I've got a chance to grab a Willie Mays, maybe it's not one of his best years. Do I grab him, right? Or do I get lucky and I get one of those teams like, let's say this. Let's say if somebody gets 1961 in Detroit, I think I know who they're going to take. It's guaranteed it's Norm Cash. And that's the Norm Cash that Big Clue had here in this league, right? But the chances of getting that year and that team is way less. It's a 16th of what it was, I guess, if we look at that. So, hey, D. Scott, glad to see you. So, yeah, Big Clue's like, yeah, give me 1961 Detroit. I'll take Norm Cash any day because I think he was a big. And you know what? Let me pull up. This is the postseason we just finished, but I can also go to the BBMV Uncle 8 file. I love that. And here's how the season ended. Let's talk a little bit about how the regular season ended and who are the standouts. I'm going to take full credit for finally being able, with my managerial duties, to get Dunlap to play to his potential. I'm not trying to call out Clue or anything, but for some reason, Dunlap and Clue didn't have communication going on, and he wasn't playing a lot. So I don't know what was going on back there. um, I think it was more like us figuring out in that first run how the heck to get the computer manager to work for all of us better. And we've learned a lot about the game. But this guy's a jewel. This guy is a jewel. This Fred Dunlap, and we got to give the credit to to Big Clue because he's the guy that had this player to begin with in the first one. Yeah, Dusty Baker was coming in there putting his fingerprint on it. But Dunlap, yeah, just great. Johnson for Cleveland. Let's take a look at this guy, Heavy Johnson. Now, we have this, and we got to talk about this with the new approach. If we just leave it outside, or if we try to bring in like some the Negro League players like we have, because they've been really good. Let's take a look at how they fared. Two of them here in the top 5 in batting. Heavy Johnson was heavy. Let's put it that way. He hit 33 home runs in this league and was second in batting. And then right down here in 5th and 6th. So let's look at this. 3 of the top 6 Negro League players. Pop Lloyd, great season for Mudville. Josh Gibson, great season for Manchester. And I think Gibson might even have been more of an MVP if he hadn't been hurt. So if we take a look at his stats, yeah, he didn't even get his expected at bats. He was 80, 90 at bat shy because he was only played 116 versus 144 games. Yeah, Clue Dunlap was a steal in that thing. So this was really fun to see how they fared with that. I think if we look at reports league, let's look at all stars, and you can kind of see overall how the voting went. This is kind of a nice view at the different positions. But Carl Hubble really stood out as pitcher of the year. MVP they're given to Barry Bonds and Carl Hubble the Cy Young. So let's take a look at who might have been close. The All-Star votes are a good way to do it. Bench just barely clipped Piazza, and this is one of those where I think if Gibson had not been hurt, he would have been right up there near bench battling for top catcher for sure. Mark McGwire ended up being the best first baseman, just tons of power. Norm Cash right behind him. Gehrig, Fox, the people you'd expect to see. Buck Leonard up there. There's Dunlop beating out somebody like Lajoie. Hornsby up there in the top, Jackie Robinson. But you see quite a big drop off between these top four, and Utley for Jersey, a guy that you wouldn't expect to be up there in the names with the Jackie Robinsons and Joe Morgan and all that, but played really well. Al Rosen, third baseman, who I think played in almost every game. He's kind of an Iron Man over there. And the one that surprised MV and I is Darrell Evans, who Beatles played as the mainstay, and he had Miguel Cabrera from one of his third base years. And I'm a Cabrera fan, and I'm like, wow, why doesn't he platoon them? But it paid off for him, right? Evans didn't have a ton of batting average, but man, he had some power. So he finished second for all of third baseman. Yount just barely edged out Willie Wells. Pop Lloyd's right there, so there's three stand out. A-Rod for Manchester. Bonds and Soto right there in left field ahead of Ruth and Williams. Mays, great center fielder, right, edging out Charleston. And I'm really surprised how well Murphy did. Dale Murphy did for Big Clue. Heavy Johnson in right field by far, right? I had Aaron out there in right field, and he played probably about 2/3 or a little bit more of the season. But Heavy Johnson, I think, is a big surprise. We did have DH on in this league, and that's something we can talk about in the next one. Hey, Beatles is here. Good. And yeah, this is the one where I was second guessing why you played him, Beatles. And then me and MV were looking. I'm like, I don't know if I'd have done that. And that guy comes out to be the second best third baseman in the league. And you're right. He draws a lot of walks, and he hit for a ton of power. That turned out to be a good play. Aaron Judge and Monty Irvin. Look at these designated hitters. So it's kind of fun to come back here and take a look at the total overall votes. But look at Bonds, 1,600 total votes. So that puts him into this. And then when we look at pitchers, Carl Hubble edges out Three Finger Brown. So always kind of, it's fun to go back and look at how people fared and individual players. And other reasons why I love the action game is, let's take a look at Gibson. We can go back and get a great history to take a look at where things maybe went wrong. We can go back to his game logs and start seeing, different games where he had so many hits, and click on those box scores and see what happened. I'm looking for some gaps here. We can even scroll it by home run. What's interesting here, looking at Josh Gibson, he never had a multi-home run game. Look, a bunch of single ones. He had a 4-for-4 game right here. But this is just a cool thing when you go back and examine a season replay you've done. The reports and the easy access by just clicking tabs or clicking on lines and bringing things up is what I think is so user friendly when you're interested to see how things came out. So we can look at batting, and it's given us the real versus replay, so we can compare it. And what's interesting, you can see over here the high game, and here's his 4-hit game. And when I click on that box, it'll actually bring up the box score. So to me, that's very user friendly when you're digging around trying to figure out who did what and how your replay turned out. It's fun to see. Game log. Fielding, also a nice one. You can see the real games they were carded for, and you can see that Josh Gibson, he played 116 at catcher, but he could have played some other positions, but MV chose not to put him there. Good stuff. Oh, look at that beetle! I told you, Steve. What I've been so busy. I had to put a gazebo together out here in the backyard. Work has been crazy. Um, family last weekend and then the weekend before, I had family here. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Joe Murdy is dying to get his hands on the Negro League file. Well, Joe, let me see if I even know where it's at. Gosh, what did I call that? Let me go take a look, see what I've got hanging around here. Let's go this way. Oh boy. Let's see if I can drop something in the our baseball geek squad or Ned McGreevy or something that if people want to play with it. I'm happy to share it in the state it's in. I think MV did a lot of Beatles did some early on. I think MV did some testing. So I'm going to go baseball seasons. I have so many seasons. Is it 312 backup? Let's take a look. Let me take a look. Negro League. I want to make sure I get you the most current one. Okay, it would have to be this one, 313, I'm thinking. If I'm, yeah, they're going to be all over the place. Let me take a look. Tell me, MV, did I build one with more than 332 players? Did I ever get to 400? Or did I stop? Yeah, so what I did for Shanks is I brought him into the one best year. This is the one that follows the three best total, which will match up well with what I'm doing for the baseball MLB grades and my new approach to basketball, kind of the best 3 years, my own peak of a player. That's what we were doing with this. But I did tweak them up a little because we were in our file, we were taking the a player's single season and going for it. So I refined them for Shanks. But I'm going to need to take a look at Negro Leagues. Yep, I think I got to 332 and I stopped and then started figuring out how to move them over so that we can draft, you know? And just so you know, if I make this available, it's all over the place, haphazard. Like, so for example, I was trying to categorize them based on the years that they were in so that it would be easy to find and just made up some team names. So it's in a pretty raw format. There's no league set up to play out of the box. There's no schedule, none of that stuff. Even look at this. This will be a blank team, but I've tried to move them around based on the average of the years they were carded. So let's look at Frank Warfield. Frank Warfield, yeah. And you'll notice this is where I was using the special note section to try to put in some key info about the player. So since he was assigned to 1923, that's why he's going to show up on the 23 to 24 team. So I'm happy if you want, Joe, in the raw state it's in, to make these 332 players as it sits for you and let you have fun, draft, do whatever you want with this file. I'm happy to do that. In fact, I think I'm in it right now. Let's do this. Let me just double check to make sure I don't. have a one that I went past 332. Yeah, let me do this one. Mm. Let me just put it in my downloads folder. It's easy to find. And let's zip it. And then I'm going to put it, I think, Joe, are you part of McGreevy? The McGreevy site? Yep, he's there. I'm going to drop it here. So there you go. Have fun with it. And I'll drop in something else for you. Let me see if I can get into my media. Let me pop into this. I'll do this. Let me okay, Negro Leagues 3. I must have had some other copies of it. So I'm going to upload this to my media fire. And I'll drop this link. So if you want to download, anybody wants to download, this is the photo pack that matches those 332 players. So there's photos for all of them as well. And I found this site, I don't think anybody uses any other site. This is a nice way because a lot of times with these files, they're too big to send via email. So this has been a nice way for me to Negro Leagues 3 zip, click on that. And then, so then if you go there right below that file, Beatles has one with 425 players. What the heck? Oh, me. Oh my gosh, I thought I was over 400. Beatles, I got to find that one. Oh, is it just regular Negro League grades? No, that was the first iteration. 43 of them I started with. .308. Man, I might have Beatles post that. Oh, she'll send it in Discord. Perfect. Yeah, drop it in the Ned McGreevy in there right underneath those threads that I got going under announcement. Because if you've got one, oh my gosh, the Serpent of Basketball. I have to have a little change of pace once in a while. Man, because I had so many of these where I was testing error ratings, I was creating players. Got to be kidding me. It's gonna kill me, Beatles. What would I have named this? Hmm, hmm, hmm. Yeah, if you got with 400 and something, post it, because then I'll versus me going through the 90 different iterations I have while I was adding to it and try to back them up. And then some of these I was play testing and I was doing uh, default player ratings and examining all that and then importing them. I was doing all kinds of stuff. Change of pace taken a completely different way. Um, it's just ratings tester. Yeah, that's a smaller group, I can tell. Yep. Anyway, I'm gonna go nuts. The heck is Beatles doing? Oh, Beatles is. Oh my gosh. So here we go, Joe. Beatles has saved me. Yep. There we go. Let's unblock that. All right. Let's go install it and take a look at this baby. There we go. 296. Oh, you know what it is? Never mind, Beatles. That the one that I posted is the right one because I'm getting freaked out looking at just batters and not looking at batters and pitchers. What an idiot. It was a rookie move. So if I go here, hit my database, and then get my stuff in order and just say all, there we go. There we go. I was screwed up. Yeah, that's the good file. I knew I was a little over 400 or thought I was. So there you go. And that's when MV was, I succumbed to the pressure. He was shaming me and telling me that I needed to work harder. And that he was talking about 500 and 1,000. And I broke down. I had a slight, had to go on anxiety meds right about that time. So that's my excuse. So, Joe, enjoy that. Let me know any feedback you had. At some point, I may come back and keep adding players to that. But 400 is a good starting point. There's a lot of players I learned about there that I had no idea about that were great. Let's take a look at 1934. Emil Brooks. Who knew? Let's take a look. Found a picture of him. There's a couple people I couldn't find pictures of and I had to just put silhouettes in there. But Mickey Casey, Harry Williams, Jimmy Crutchfield, Chester Williams. It was really fun research. And if you notice on this file, I started adding little bio information about him because in the notes section, you get so many characters uh, that Action provides you. And this is where usually they'll have the default things like Hall of Fame, what year, if they won the MVP. So I was experimenting trying to put little bio bits of information and get it to stick. So that's one thing I enjoyed doing with the Negro League players, and that'll show up on their card when you well click on the card. It'll show up right here. Bill Monroe, slick fielder known for showboating and trash talk. So fun time. So what's next, gentlemen? I guess that's the big thing is we've ended the season. What does this new draft look like? I think we played around one time. I did a broadcast kind of experimenting using basketball as an option. I don't think you get the same challenge with basketball only because baseball you need more players on a team. I think it's easier in the basketball approach because I played around with it a little bit to field a better team. But let's go. That's usually how it happened before. We're all ready. Let's do it. Who's in? Yeah, it's a blast. I think Big Clue had done some pre-work in speeding up things instead of being live and saying, "Okay, here's your random," which we could. For example, you pull up random number generator, right? Boom. Okay, let's go. Yeah, we're going to do 1900. Notice how I throw that in there to 2022. Boom. Okay, here's your team. 2014. And then we could always look and say, oh, in 2014, there's, 30 teams, as an example. You get team 13. So then you could go to baseball. This is how I was thinking about doing. Then you could go to baseball reference and come over here and go to seasons. You could go to 2014, go down to, the 14th team, whatever. I mean, that's how I was looking at doing. Clue was already ahead of it by running some of the random things and assigning it to different numbered slots. He would have it mapped out already. So, team three, if I was given team three, would have picks like it would have all their years and the team that they would pick from already for their 25 picks or so mapped out. And then we would do a random draft to see who got assigned to which team slot. And then that would be your little matrix or your chart to follow, which would help speed up, having to do all the random rolling and stuff in the moment. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Beto said he added some McGreevy. Yeah, and I think that's the fun thing about, you know, I think Beetle's done a good job getting people interested in dead ball. I mean, heck, we've got Bernard out here running with a 1912 replay. How cool is that? So there's been a lot of appreciation for some of the earlier years, Negro leagues as well. But I think, if you think about it, that to me is the fun of action. And if you watch out of the park baseball as well, right, is being able to import the what ifs. I'm huge on the what ifs. So being able to have the ability to say, okay, here's my parameters. I want to just play with these years, or I want to import here. I want to combine these draft pools. It, both games seem like they're very easy. They have their different kind of pluses and minuses on how you go about and do that. But to me, that's what the big draw is to own these if you're into the what if stuff, right? As Beatles, I say all the time, if you don't own action, why not? And out of the park baseball is one of those too. I own it. I haven't messed with 24 at all this year. I bought it, but I just have been working on so many things I haven't had a chance to get involved. But if you can afford it and you're not on a super limited budget, sometimes it's not about which game, it's about which games. I mean, there's some I'm not interested in, but to me, there's always a couple, two or three that maybe they offer something, and it's beneficial to own two or three different ones because they achieve something specific for what they're doing. Yeah, um, makes it fun. But the what if stuff, I just love with action. That's why it's a blast. It's like this basketball one here. I'm having I know Clue's like, here goes Steve with the dang basketball again. But and MV's liking it. I'll send you this as well, MV, so you can do it. I know Arnold's doing is gracious enough to do some testing for me, but it's fun to me that once I'm doing my normalizing to the year I'm using. So it's fun because I get to take, as I said, if you're going to use 3 or 4 years for a player, I'll give you an example, like Oscar Robertson. If I'm using a 1962 and like a 1970 season, those are two different universes to compare numbers from, right? So if I'm averaging his numbers, but I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to put him in 1965, you need to really get those averages and then tweak them based on the style of play to the right era. So what I've done here is spend the time to, let's see where Oscar averages here. So I've got Oscar 1964-65. So what I've done is I know 61 or 2 has got to be a season in there. There's some later ones. So I've averaged the seasons that I'm using and it comes out to 64-65. So then I take that average and I look at the averages of the era data for all those seasons and the average of that, and I look at 65, and if I have to tweak up or down category by category, I do it. So the game knows that Oscar has already been adjusted for all his stats like it was all happened in 1964. So then when you move him around in the game, and this is the same as true for baseball, you move him around in the game, it'll make the proper era adjustments correctly. So on my baseball greats, let's move it over to baseball since it's kind of a baseball talk here. I think I'm just calling, I have so many different things. MLB greats right here. And let's take a look at how many have I got built? I worked on some. I'm up to 64. Let's take a look at Yaz. So Yastrzemski, he's assigned to 1969. So I'm using 3 to 4 years of pretty much 3. And whatever those 3 years, guaranteed 67 is one of them, 70 is probably one. It averages to 69. So I've gone in and I've used the tool that I have to backdoor into because the neutralizing isn't easy to get into. I can still get into it through another way. It used to be, let me go to this. It's the random ramblings of a mad home brewer here now. I used to say, okay, yes, let's go under here, advanced stats. And I would say, oh, neutralized. It used to be an option here. So I could go and get a series of years and send him to a certain thing. Can't do that now. They removed it. But I happen to have a way to get in on the backside. Da-da-da-da. So here I am, and then I can say, okay, I want Yaz. Right here, and I can say 69, okay, American League, 1969 is what he's going to be in. And I can say, okay, Boston. So it knows the park. I get the results. Well, where's my thing? Oh, you know what I did? I need to go sign into my other account to do that. Anyway, I was going to give you a little tutorial on how I do all that good stuff. But then you would have it neutralized for that ballpark, so it'll it'll bump him up or down, and then I go into the average line. So let's say here, let me go back to Yaz. Boom. Let's say I'm going to figure out what seasons I'm going to use. Here's what I do. I'll look at OPS plus, and I go, yeah, these are probably his 3 best, right? 67, 68, 70. One of the cool things you can do here, I can modify this table and I go 67. Oh, I'm sorry. What a moron. There we go. What do I got? 67, 68, and 70. I can delete all the other stuff I don't want to look at, except those. And then I can go up here and get it as an Excel workbook. And the other nice thing I can do is this helps me because now I can go here and total all this up. And I have another thing I can drop it. I can total all these up, get the average line and go drop it, get the sums and then divide by 3 and then come up with his line. And then I can go over and see what that looks like when it's neutralized for park effects, and do all of it. So that's all the stuff I do on the outside when I'm building them to a specific season and averaging several seasons for their peak. So little behind the scenes work. Oh, Joe Murdy, here's the deal. One day we were laughing about MV because of the simulcast delay sometimes in being over in Wales and different things. And one day, I think I made the joke or somebody did about, wouldn't it be funny if MV was just hiding out in the hills of West Virginia? I don't even know how it even came up. And then that just kind of stuck. So we've always teased him that he's never actually across the pond, that he's hiding out in the hills of West Virginia. So I don't know if anybody else can remember. I think it was just that simple and goofy in how it came up. And we've been running with it ever since. So if you ever go to Baseball Reference and you don't get in here and manipulate, there's a lot of cool things you can do to just look at a certain string of seasons or pull it out into Excel and do some stuff with. I have tons of Excel documents I work off. This is my basketball one that I work off of right here. And the one final thing is I have overall defensive ratings that I get from a variety of sources so that I can go back and double check and make adjustments when I'm done, kind of track who I've built photos for and all that. And then if I open up baseball, here's what I'm working on for baseball. So keep closing all my good stuff here. So I can go to baseball and take a look at, this would be my MLB greats neutralize that I've built. So you see Wally Berger was done here, Babe Ruth, Medwick. So I'm tracking all my stuff, and then I've got all their fielding data here. Pitchers. Gosh, I've got to have one that's newer than this. Oh yeah, it's got to be this one. Not that one. Anyway, now I'm confused. I'm like, where's my most recent baseball one? But I have these for a lot of my NFL projects as well. '70s baseball. Well, now I have to go out and figure out which one where I've got it. But anyway, heading down rabbit holes with looking for all my stuff. Dun, 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 dun. Come back to the true faith. Yeah, so here I am back at baseball. So I think Clue's done a lot. He can tell us if he's there. Has Clue got it ready for like a 12 team, 14 team, whatever? I mean, how do we figure out who's going to stay in the league? Who wants to come in? How many teams do we expand? The more the merrier. As I get ready to disconnect here and go do whatever else Mrs. Tate has planned for me. That's something for us to think about next on the next broadcast that somebody does, right? Yeah, the comfy. I'm in a comfy. By the way, I have really upgraded. I've got a gaming chair now that I love. Um, it's nice, and I've got my monitor set up. I got a big desktop like mouse pad that everything sits on. I'm feeling like I'm in the. I'm hip, with all these current gamers and stuff. So yeah, I'm in a literal comfy chair just thinking about what we can do with this project. So I'm just gonna throw a let me just throw a random year. So if I've got to go to, let's just pick a season here. Let's scroll down. Let's see. I get 1954. Let's say the White Sox. Boom. I'm on the clock. Let me see what I got here. Who am I gonna go in 1950? Oh, I got Nellie Fox. Who else might stand out here? Oh, Minnie Minoso. There's a great option here with 54 White Sox. When it comes to pitching, hmm, yeah, not impressed here, but right away, quickly, I go right here. I'm thinking, ooh, okay, I've got Nellie Fox as a great second baseman. I got Minnie Minoso in left. Very easy when you got the first pick. But as each round goes by, and I challenge anybody that is interested in this kind of approach, play around with it a little bit on your own and draw some random years and teams and put them out, and then just follow it as a test case and try to draft and see how, when you're trying to complete a team and have good backups and positions covered, it gets really challenging as the draft moves on. Yeah, not so good. So let's do another one. Just a little quick seasons. Let's go into the 70s, or let's go 72, and let's just hit Expos. Ooh, not a great year, right, for maybe some of these teams. So you might get kind of a dud when it comes here. So this isn't a team I would be begging for, the 72 Expos. But if I got stuck with them, what am I going to do here? Is this the one where I would opt to take maybe a backup player, right? Okay, well, maybe I grab somebody like a Ron Hunt who gets hit by a pitch a lot, can play second base. Mike Jorgensen. Who we got? Bill Stoneman, maybe for a good starter over here is a good option. I like to look at ERA plus. And oh, Mike Marshall is a closer. There you go. That's who I'm going with. 1.198 ERA plus 178 ERA. I'm taking Mike Marshall as a closer. This is the kind of stupid stuff I'll sit here for an hour and entertain myself with. I want Ron LaFleur. Hey, the LeVar Burton in the Ron LaFleur story. It was a great movie back in the day. I'm growing up in Detroit, big Tiger fan. Uh, those were fun teams when they had Fidrich and even stumbling Rusty Staub out in right field occasionally. Jason Thompson, who we thought was going to be like a first baseman of the future. LaFleur was the center fielder. Good memories. Got to see Fidrich pitch twice 1976 at home. I got to see him near my birthday in August. It had to be close to my birthday, pitch against the Twins. And uh, Tony Oliva hit a single hard out into right field, and he was a little slow at that point. I think Tony Oliva was the DH in '76, and he almost got thrown out. He hit a sharp ball out to right field, and the right fielder made a throw to first, and he was safe. I mean, he just beat it. I thought they were going to throw the guy out. I still remember that. I was 10 years old. So 72. Yeah, what's another rough one that we may not ask for? And then we can hope Beatles gets that year. Kind of like how we do, right? Give him 2020. Um, let's take 19. How about the 62 Mets? 62. Oh, 62, and I get the Mets. What the heck? 40 wins on the season. What would happen here? Hmm. Ricky Ashburn's batting 306. Okay. Best batting average on the team. Frank Thomas, 34 home runs. When it comes to pitching, I don't like any of it. The lowest ERA is what, 4.4? So, ugh. Hmm. Let's do another one here. Seasons. Let's do, how about 1940? And let's go with the Browns. Nobody gives the Browns any love. 1940 Browns. Wally Judnich. There's a guy that doesn't pop up in people's minds in a draft. But look, Rip Radcliffe, left-handed hitter at 342. There you go. So there's even some little jewels on some of these teams when you get to specific year and team. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is going to take the most fun I've ever had in a draft to even a better level. Yeah, yeah, two drafts in a row, big clue. I got all three of those great pitchers, which are the for each one of those, that's the year you want. Pitchers, do we have anything? Don't see anything good over here. Let's go for another one. I'm having too much fun with this. So season, somebody throw out a season. See who throw. Give me a season out there. Uh, what's a season we can go explore? Oh, let's go this. Let's do one of these crazy Beatles loving seasons like 1980, 1885, and then let's get the Louisville Colonels. Oh, we got Fred Clark, Ducky Holmes at part time though, only 161 at bats. Pitchers. Either way, we're going to have fun with this. Oh, nice. So Clue has it's like bingo cards. You can get a whole pack, and in fact, you can sit down there and how many packs can you work at once? We'll have three drafts going simultaneously. Get your daubers out. That's that's what I'm envisioning. Oh, yeah. Call us out. I'll play a round or two with that. Yeah, I do. Beatles, let's do it. Fire it up over there because I do have to. It's a little after dinner time here. Go check, see what's going on out there. But yeah, that'd definitely be fun. But yeah, it's kind of get the feel so we can see how that flow is going to go. But I think it's funny. But we get the big clue bingo card out. Get your daubers. Let's go. I'm working three at a time. Oh my gosh, I got nine. Oh, I got 42 here. I got. Oh man, had hard enough time keeping up with one pack. Awesome, man. No, I'll tune in here in a bit as soon as I check in, but this has been fun. So seems like we got some momentum. It was a great league. We put a bow on it. Now let's get on to the draft. That's half the fun or more for many of us. And then next time we can even maybe even move the season along because I know we kind of muddled through this and people took breaks and back and forth. We don't even have to take as long as we did to get on through the season and on to the next one, right? Because I still find some enjoyment in even if, with a lot of the auto plays, just seeing how that team performed, and then you're already thinking about what you might get in the next one. All right, Beatles. Hey, if I get a chance to pop over there, I will and hop over there. But everybody head over to Beatles channel, and big thanks to everybody for the wrap up of the Shanks Bingo League and everybody that has contributed to the idea and how it keeps evolving. It's been pretty cool. Joe, enjoy the Negro League file. At some point, I have so many projects. It offers me variety to get back to them. I'll get back to finishing that up. But I worked on that so hard, I was exhausted with that. And the Shanks League kind of gave me a nice distraction. And now I got basketball on my mind. And do I dare say the words football? Hmm. Maybe at the end of August when that season starts. Who knows? Because I've still got some 5-year franchise teams that I could build out for football, basketball, even so. Who knows? More to come. No, it's like no, don't say it. All right, we'll see you over at Beatles Channel.